Hi, welcome. In this video I'm going to show you some of the paintings I've done this week out on the trails, and one that I did after hiking up a big mountain here in Southeast Alaska. If you want to watch that video, I have a whole vlog on it. You'll love the spectacular views. It's incredible. It's fall here and we don't get much color in our leaves, but there's a lot of color out on our muskegs or our bogs, and up in the mountains all of the little alpine plants start turning pinks and purples, and there's dramatic trees. So I'll show you that painting, and I have done 2 oil paintings out on the trails, so I also want to share with you the setup that I use. I see a lot of other in plein air painters using these big heavy tripods and really heavy setups, and they just drive to their spot where they're going to paint. But I like to hike on the trails and then find my spot out hiking, so I don't want to carry a lot of heavy supplies. So I'll show you some of the ways that I keep my in plein air setup light. And so what I have to show you today are some acrylic gouache paintings, a couple of oil paintings that I did out on the trails. I have at least one small watercolor painting, and then there was one day I had very little time, so I just did a value study in pencil. If you enjoy these kind of videos, just seeing someone else's art process and hearing some tips and tricks, consider subscribing. I'd love to have you in the community. Also, as my channel here is growing, I'd love to hear from you. What kind of videos would you like to see? Would you like to see more tutorials? I've been focusing a lot on just sharing my journey into learning new things, but I also have 40 years of oil painting knowledge that I could share. If you'd like more tutorials, I could do some videos with tutorials. I could do more with tools and brands and more how-to kind of things like that. So let me know what you'd like to see more of. I really enjoy doing the trail vlogs. They're really fun to film, they're fun to edit, and I love sharing my gorgeous Southeast Alaska wilderness with you. So I've been doing a lot of those, but it's getting darker, the weather's kind of going colder and wetter here, so I'll keep doing those vlogs, but I could do a lot of studio type videos too, so let me know what you'd like to see. Let's dive into this week's artwork. Here is the oil painting that I did up on the mountaintop here. It was a beautiful day, and we hiked up here. It took us about an hour and 15 minutes up a pretty big mountain. If you'd like to see the video that I took hiking up there and painting this, you can check out the card up above, and I'll show you the setup that I use to do oil paintings in plein air. Here is the little oil painting palette box that I use. Here's the little magnetically attachable brush holder. As you can see, it's very small, it's very compact, and the painting just goes in here. You can slide these up and down, so you can do a vertical or a horizontal. I did 2 oil paintings with this week, and this is very packable. This comes off, then this folds down. I put my paints right along the edge here, and then your canvas can go in here. These just go together, and you can see this folds up really small, so this can fit in your backpack. I'll show you here the tripod that I have. I see a lot of people carrying big heavy tripods. I use this very light one, and yes, it does wobble a bit when I'm painting on it, but the lightweightness of it and the ease of carrying it totally makes up for that. If you're not taking footage like I usually am when I'm using it, the wobble doesn't really matter. When I'm painting on it and I speed up my footage, you can see it vibrating like this, but when I'm painting on it, it really doesn't bother me. And for me, the compactness and the lightness is really what matters, because especially the hike where I did this painting, that was a very steep and fairly difficult hike. It was slippery, very steep, the footing was bad, and boy, was I out of breath. I need to do more cardio. So that's a really good setup, that little Yugo 6x8 pochade box, and then that very light and collapsible tripod. I'll show you how the tripod looks when it's collapsed. So as you can see, this tripod is very small, very collapsible. It's actually pretty light. So if you're going to do real hiking, you're not just driving up to your painting spot, I'd recommend getting a small collapsible tripod like this. This is an 8x10 canvas, so you can see that this is not much bigger. It's only about 1 foot long and very portable. So I'd recommend that if you're more of a hiker than a drive up and paint kind of person. Here is the second oil painting that I did this week. I had paints still on my palette, my little travel palette, already on it from doing the mountain hike. So the next day I decided to do another oil painting. And I actually think this one turned out a little bit better than the one on the mountain. I feel like this didn't have enough definition or detail in here. I probably could work on this more. It could have a better value range. Probably putting some of the little plants and scraggly sticks and things that were here up in the alpine would have helped this one. I do like the way that the trees came out. These trees are really cool up on the mountain where the high winds blow them constantly. But this one, it was a much more mellow walk. We were out in a muskeg, which is our bogs, and this is where we get our beautiful fall colors in our muskegs. And there were just these oranges and pinks and some violets, and so I really emphasized the yellows and oranges. And when I got home, I did add in some of the darker darks. It seems like when I'm out in the field, I don't get enough of the really deep darks in sometimes. So that's something I'm still learning. In plein air is still new to me. I'm really excited to be doing it. I wish I would have discovered it years ago. I used to be only a studio painter. So I'm pretty happy with this one. It's still drying. This is one that I did yesterday. This is acrylic gouache. This was at a little lake that we rode our bikes to, and had all these intriguing little, I think these were little dead alders against this backdrop of very dark spruces and hemlocks. And there was some mist hanging in the air. There's this distant hill. This was really fun. I'm pretty happy with this one. I used to, when I first started plein air, I was having troubles with water, and I realized it was because I wasn't really looking at the reflections in the water. I wouldn't say that these reflections turned out perfect. They're almost a little too uniform. I could probably adapt those. But this was fun, getting some fall color in our little shrubs and things over here. Here's one that I did along a trail that follows this creek. This is Ward Creek. This was pretty cool this day. There were kingfishers flying around. There was a bald eagle that we saw fly by with a huge long piece of moss. It must have been like 4 feet long, carrying it, probably trying to bring it up to its nest. And one of the last few spawning salmon was jumping over here too. So I was pretty happy with this one. I had to fix the reflections a little bit when I got home. This one was at the wrong angle. But I'm really having fun. I would say this was a week of reflections because I had a lot of fun trying to capture reflections this week. And again, the week of reflections. This was at a pond with just a simple little, very wilderness trail. It's not a built trail. You really have to know where this trail goes. It goes up to a little pond up behind one of our fire stations. And not much to say about this one. It's pretty straightforward. It's not the most exciting composition. The trees are fairly straight across. Mostly this one was about just capturing the pond and the reflections. Now onto a simpler piece. This day I had very little time. I'm a reporter for our local newspaper, and I had an early interview. So this day I decided to just do a quick pencil sketch, just kind of remind myself of focusing on basic values, trying to get these distant, there's very distant islands and mountains back here. So trying to get light, middle, and dark values all in. I wouldn't say this is a terribly interesting piece, but it was a good learning experience, and I think in plein air is wonderful for being a learning experience. You have to go quickly, you have to make decisions on the spot, and sometimes you make the wrong decisions, but I always take a photo before I start. And I can come home and compare to how was my drawing, how were my values, what went wrong with this compared to what I see in the photo. And another thing I like about in plein air is I've always loved being out in nature. I've always loved being on the trails and in the wilderness. And since doing in plein air artwork, I am just enjoying nature to a whole new level. I see the details, the colors, the little splash of light on a leaf, the shape of dying leaves, the shape of bark or a twisted tree in a whole new way with a lot more appreciation. My hikes feel almost more meditative and healing in that way because I'm so much more focused and noticing what's in front of me. And here's a little acrylic gouache piece that I did on one of our muskegs. Again, you see our fall colors showing up in the muskeg. There's these little grassy plants, and there's mosses in here that turn red. There are these little bog blueberry leaves that turn this beautiful kind of purplish mauve color. So that is our interesting fall color here in Ketchikan, Alaska. And then in the bogs, the trees often grow very stunted. They end up looking a little bit like bonsai trees. So it was a beautiful day. I'm pretty happy with this painting. It's just kind of an interesting portrait of a tree and his little friend. And here is a very simple watercolor that I did. Watercolor is the most difficult for me. I know it is a challenging medium for everybody. And doing it on the trail very quickly when I don't have time for each layer to dry can also add to the challenge. This day was really cool. The moon was out and there was this blue sky with just these thin clouds coming across and then this big bank of fog here. This bank of fog actually was much closer to the land down here, so I didn't capture that quite right. But again, as with all in plein air, it's a fun challenge. I learned a lot, and this one's very different than anything that I have done so far. And here's one that I did this morning. This is at a local lake. I managed to take my walk right in between two rainstorms, and there was these spots of really blue sky with just these almost orangey clouds layered over violet clouds. It was a beautiful sky. I don't think I even have the skills to have captured it perfectly, but I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. Here's some distant forested hills back here. They had some mist coming over the top of them, and then there was this glowing orange, very warm, thin clouds in the sky back here. And right here is a creek that comes out of the lake. So it's very dark there, and it tumbles down to Ward Cove, which is down in the saltwater. I'm pretty happy with this one. I think it reads really well. I have a great range of darks and lights and midtones here and midtones in the sky. I like my reflections in the water. I think they read really well. I didn't mess with them too much or try to make them too fancy. I love the addition of these warm colors here, so I think today's painting is my favorite gouache painting. Thanks for joining me today. Remember, leave in the comments your requests about future videos you'd like to see. Would you just like to see more tutorials? Would you like to see videos on just creativity in general? I have been an oil painter and artist for more than 40 years. I have held solo exhibits. I have been part of curated exhibits. I have done a lot of pet portrait commissions. So I've done quite a few different things. If there's something that you'd want to know, the type of video that you'd like to see, let me know. I've been having fun doing the trail vlogs and the in plein air, sharing my journey to learn new things and new materials that I've never done before. But if you'd like to see something different and something that could be inspiring for you, let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. Stay creative and have fun.